Some of the rumors are true. There was a lot of big changes to this schedule, the 2020 NASCAR schedule, that is. But man, like a lot of changes. You know what? I'll let you look at the schedule real quick, and then we'll talk about it after that. So there you have it. There's the new schedule. Tell me in the comments what you think. Just what your overall opinions on the schedule, specific dates if you'd like to put that. We're about to go into some analysis, opinions, that kind of stuff for this upcoming section. There's so many changes. I don't even know where to start. So we're just going to go from the top of the schedule. Daytona 500 still starts off the schedule. There were some rumors, there weren't a ton, but there were some rumors that there might be a different season opener. Obviously, the backlash probably stopped that from happening, so could be happy about that. I'm going to be giving what I think, and then also my like what I think for racing wise, and then my personal opinion on it as well for each of these races. Up next, the West Coast swing moves up. Instead of Atlanta being the second race, the West Coast swing starts right after Daytona. Las Vegas Motor Speedway now holds the second race of the season, Auto Club the third race, and ISM the fourth race. ISM, they got a big date at the end of the schedule, as you saw at the schedule. Fifth race is now Atlanta, and Homestead Miami Speedway, instead of being the season finale championship race, it will be Sunday, March 22nd, the sixth race of the season. So they definitely had a change. No, obviously. And then they go to their the series goes to its third straight mile and a half at Texas Motor Speedway. Then it goes to Bristol. Then there's an off weekend. Then they go to Richmond Raceway, Talladega, and then they go to Dover. And then here's where it gets interesting. Martinsville is now a May race. Now, we just had Martinsville last week. It's March 25th, March 26th or something. The race was on like what's today, Tuesday? 24th? Yeah, the 24th. So the Martinsville race was on March 24th. It is now May 9th. So that's a whole almost 2 months later. Now really like a month and a half or so. So that's a later race. And another big thing about this race, it will be the first ever night race at Martinsville. So that is a big deal for them. It doesn't say the times on the NASCAR.com schedule thing that I'm looking at here, the original release of the article. But they did say in the article that this would be a night race at Martinsville. After Martinsville will be the All-Star race, then the Coca-Cola 600 will keep its Memorial Day weekend. That's good. Kansas Speedway is now at the end of May, the last day of May. And then June, the first week of June, will be Michigan, then Sonoma, and then Chicagoland. They will have a race on Father's Day for the first time in quite a while. So after Chicagoland, here's something very interesting that I personally have never seen before. They will have back-to-back Pocono races. Not back-to-back weekends, back-to-back days. Saturday, June 27th, they will run at Pocono Raceway. Then Sunday, June 28th, they will also run at Pocono. So, I don't know the lengths of the races. If they're both 400 milers, I would be thoroughly surprised. That's a lot on the drivers and on cars. I don't know if they're going to use the same cars. I don't know if they're going to use different cars. I don't know how it's going to work. My opinion on it, they're trying to shorten the schedule, which they do by 2 weeks, I believe. But what do I think of it? I mean, it's a lot of racing in 1 weekend for Pocono. They technically lose their second weekend. They still have 2 races, but they lose their second weekend. But you have 2 opportunities to win at Pocono. You can sweep Pocono in 2 days. I'm betting on that they shorten the race lengths just because it's back to back, and that would be really hard on the drivers. Maybe make them both 300 milers, or make one 400, one 300. But I don't think they'll both be 400 milers. That's a lot on the drivers. And if they use the same cars, that's a lot on the cars, but I definitely do that. Another big change, I personally do not like this change. I like Daytona at this slot, the 4th of July slot, but they moved Indianapolis up to that slot. Indianapolis, very famous track, obviously. This year and last year, it is the playoff cutoff, so the regular season finale. Last year was all right. There wasn't anything chaotic that happened. There was no spin gate or anything, but it was all right, I guess. I don't know. But I prefer the Daytona race there just because of how long it's been there. It's probably going to be hot in Indianapolis in July, out of what I've seen from some fans' reactions from Indianapolis. So, yeah. Next is Kentucky, New Hampshire. That didn't change. Then we have 2 straight off weekends of July 26th and August 2nd. So there are 2 open dates there. Then we go to Michigan, and they had a quote. Let me find that quote. It's in this article, so I don't have to scroll that much. The 4 final races of the regular season are designed to test the mettle of NASCAR's top drivers on a variety of courses. That 4-race slate includes a wide 2-mile oval, Michigan, a road course, Watkins Glen, a fast 1-mile concrete track, Dover, and a 2.5-mile superspeedway, Daytona. So that's where it gets interesting. The end of the regular season consists of, you get 2 weeks off, and then you go Michigan, Watkins Glen, Dover, and Daytona. So Michigan's around the same time, Watkins Glen's about the same time, but then you get Dover, which used to be a playoff race, a cutoff playoff race. Well, not last year. What was it last year? No, the Roval was. But it used to be a playoff cutoff race. Now it's not even in the playoffs anymore. It's completely out. It's 2 races before. And then Daytona, instead of being the July 4th slot, it is now the end of the regular season. So if there's a tight points battle, it could get dicey. There could be some wrecks. There could be some crashes that kind of really decide what happens and who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. So some people might not like that. I personally like Daytona at the July 4th slot, as I said earlier. It's the night race, but I can't control that. So, I mean, as a fan, seeing Daytona as a cutoff race is interesting. I think it's an interesting choice. Obviously, you got to avoid chaos if you're in a tight point situation, but it also says a statement from NASCAR saying, hey, you should have gotten more points, or you should have gotten a win earlier to lock yourself in the playoffs. So if you wreck here and get knocked out on points, you shouldn't be mad about it. You should have done better earlier in the season. So it's a little bit of a statement from NASCAR, I believe, but that's just my guess. And then the playoff opener. This is an interesting one. The Darlington race. So Labor Day weekend, Darlington, that stays the same, but it is no longer 2 races or so before the playoffs. It is now the playoff opener. So they now get to host a playoff opening race. Not only a playoff race, but the playoff opener. So good job, Darlington. That's obviously still going to be throwback race, all that stuff. Then we got Richmond, the next race at Saturday night. And then we got this one. So I made the schedule, and I just basically shuffled up a bunch of tracks that are currently on the schedule. I didn't add on. I didn't take any away. But I basically made a new schedule of NASCAR. I'll put that up here later. I'll put it in the description or whatever. But you'll see it. But I put Bristol in the playoffs because I was like, we want more short tracks. Let's put some short tracks in the playoffs. So Bristol is now not only in the playoff race, it's a cutoff race. It is the 3rd race of the first round. So it's the cutoff race of the round of 16. And it's the Bristol night race. So it can get chaotic. We've seen Bristol in the past. We've seen tempers flare. We've seen crashes with the leaders when Kevin Harvick wrecked Denny Hamlin a few years ago. And when Terry Labonte crashed going across the finish line after he got tapped by Dale Earnhardt. We've seen bump and runs. Last year we saw one with Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. We've seen it with Jeff Gordon and Rusty Wallace. We've seen a lot happen at Bristol, especially the night race. So anything can happen. I mean, this race could be the most high-tempered, chaotic, determining who makes it or who doesn't. So this could be a very interesting race. I think that's a great move by NASCAR to put Bristol in the playoffs. Not only that, but put the Bristol night race as the cutoff race. So I applaud NASCAR for that. I personally am a huge fan of that. I think that'll be very exciting. Obviously, it's not its original date slots in August, but I do like where it is placed, and I think that will be very interesting, and I think the fans will love that. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is the opener for the round of 12. Talladega is sandwiched between Las Vegas and the Roval. So the Roval moves back a few races, but it is still a cutoff race. And that's why it's interesting, because we got a short track cutoff, we got a road course cutoff, and then we got another short track cutoff. So I like the Roval cutoff. We saw how intense and dramatic it got last year. Jimmy Johnson, trying to get the win for Martin Truex Jr., obviously spun himself out, finished 8th. Was in a points tie with him, Kyle Larson, and Al Mirola, and he lost. So obviously that was dramatic. So we might see more drama there. Opening the round of 8 will be Kansas Speedway instead of Martinsville Speedway as usual. Texas Motor Speedway will still be the second race of the round of 8. And then Sunday, November 1st, will be the cutoff race at Martinsville. I personally would have liked to see this Martinsville race be the night race, but I don't know what the weather's like up in Virginia at this time of year. So it could be cold, could be snowy, could be really just cold in general. So fans might not want to go to a cold race, so keep it in the afternoon. But I still like it. I like Martinsville as a cutoff race. I really do. As I said with Bristol, short track, tempers flare. We've seen things happen in the past. 2017, Elliott and Hamlin. We saw 2014 Junior bump out Tony Stewart out of the way. Obviously, neither of them were in the playoffs, but Junior ended up getting the win, keeping it away from his teammate Jeff Gordon, who was in the playoffs. Gordon ended up being eliminated after some circumstances at Texas. Brad Keselowski. Yeah, you get my point. But yeah, it's chaotic there. It can be chaotic there. But yeah, moving on to the season finale. As you saw earlier, you went through the schedule. I showed you the schedule. But now we're going to talk about it. The season finale is no longer at Homestead Miami Speedway. It is at ISM Raceway. Wow, that's a big changer. ISM obviously just did a bunch of renovations to their grandstands, obviously switching the start-finish line from the now backstretch, or it looks like a backstretch, to the front little dog leg. They have added stands. They did a new infield thing. Here are the specifics. They have it up here. For the first time since 2002, the Premier Series finale will host a new track. The 1 mile ISM Raceway at Phoenix, which recently completed a $178 million renovation project designed to improve the fan experience, and one which included a reconfiguration for the start-finish line. So ISM in the past, it's been the cutoff race for the round of 8. They've had some drama there with Newman pushing Larson out of the way to knock out Gordon. Elliott wrecking Hamlin, basically, to get some revenge, and then Hamlin was eliminated. So we've seen some drama there with the round of 8. Imagine what could happen in the championship 4. There could be a late race restart. People could dive onto that dog leg because it's now the start-finish line. You could dive down, try to take the lead away, dive into turns 1 and 2 because it's a flat, slow turn. So you could really send it in there to try to take the lead away from someone to get the championship. 3 and 4, you could bump someone out of the way. So I think it could be interesting. I personally like it more than Miami. I mean, I like Miami sometimes. It's had some good racing in the past. At times, 2014 is an example. Harvick, Gordon, Hamlin, all competing for the lead and win. It's been interesting there. We've seen a lot of things happen there. So, obviously, rip Miami season finale, but now we're on to Phoenix. So that'll be interesting to see. I think it could be very interesting. I think this could be a big test for the organization of ISM Raceway to test their facilities, to get some more advertisement for that track. So I think it'll be very interesting personally. I'm very excited to see how that goes. I'm a fan of it because obviously, I had Las Vegas in my personal schedule, but, I'm actually kind of glad they didn't do a 1.5 miles. But yeah, I like it. I like ISM. So that could be interesting. But that's the whole schedule. There we go. Let's see. Did I miss anything in here? Playoff field. Already talked about that. Already talked about the regular season finale. Already talked about Pocono. Talked about Father's Day. Talked about... Yep. Let's see. Yep. Martinsville, new night race, May 9th, 2020. NASCAR goes west earlier. New season finale for regular season. So yeah, it'll be interesting. New regular season finale at Daytona. New playoff opener at Darlington. and new season finale at ISM, and we got some great cutoff races. Bristol, Roval, Martinsville. That's a high-quality schedule, honestly. There's a couple things just due to historical value that I don't like, but other than that, it's not a bad schedule. Tell me what you think in the comments of the schedule. Tell me what you would have changed, what you would have not changed, and what you would like to see in the future. Like more short tracks like Rockingham, North Wilkesboro, Nashville, or if you want more Rovals like the Daytona Roval, Indianapolis's Roval. I don't know, but yeah, you tell me. Thank you for watching this video. This was a fun one to make. I knew it was happening today, so I had to make this as quick as possible. Something here. Oh, my new schedule. That's what I want. When I made the schedule, it's different, but there are some slots that might be the same. Something here. Yeah. Click on the face to subscribe. Thank you for watching.